First African Baptist Church is the first Black Baptist congregation in North America. The church was organized in 1773 under the leadership of Reverend George Leal. In 1859, the current sanctuary was built by slaves. In the church, a tunnel was discovered and is believed to be a part of the historic Underground Railroad.
I had the privilege of serving as youth pastor at historic First African Baptist Church in Savannah, Georgia, under the leadership of Pastor Thurman Tillman from 2008 to 2014. During my experience there, I learned the rich history and rich heritage of historic First African Baptist Church. First African Baptist Church was constituted in December of 1777, founded and built by slaves, and the present site has been there since 1859. The slaves who could have used their resources, their money, to purchase their freedom decided to build a sanctuary, to build a house for God. One of the things that our African ancestors believed, that if we build a house for God on this side, then He would most surely build a house for us on the other side. And so in commitment to the Lord, they built a sanctuary for God and for the work of the ministry. And that testimony still stands as a great legacy for our ancestors and those who came before us, of how God can use those individuals, even in a time of slavery, to build a great legacy that our people and other individuals are presently enjoying. The church has had 17 pastors in 235 years. The present pastor is Pastor Thurman Tillman. He has been serving there for 32 years. God is richly using him and the church to bring about a great impact in the Savannah community. A part of First African's legacy is the fact that the Underground Railroad was actually connected to the present sanctuary of the church. We do realize that the Underground Railroad was one of the major places and one of the major transition points for our ancestors who were transitioning out of slavery into freedom. And the rich legacy of our ancestry tells us that the Underground Railroad was used as a means of escaping the terrible hands of those individuals who enslaved our ancestors. And so if you are presently visiting the First African Baptist Church, you will notice in the bottom sanctuary, which is called the Delaware Auditorium, that particular area has a place and that is reserved that shows air holes that was used to give ventilation to those who were hidden underneath the auditorium. And we believe that the Underground Railroad actually passed through that particular point, passed through that present location where the church is presently there.
The tunnel operated from 1859 right up until 1865. We don't know how many persons would have entered our tunnel. We don't know the ages, the names, the genders. Everything that period was kept a complete secret, and it was to protect everyone that was involved. Not necessarily not only the slaves, all the other stakeholders. Persons that made the decision to run would have seen messages along the way guiding them to this safe house. Quilts were used to send messages. Depending on how the quilt was placed, how it was folded, all that good stuff, the slave would know where to go, what to look for, who to look for. They knew that this church was a safe house because of the ceiling and the pattern in the ceiling. Pattern in our ceiling is a 9-patch quilt pattern, and that was a confirmation that this was a safe house. Now, once they got into the building, they would have known where to go in the building to hide. There was a hiding space, and after being in that space for a period of time, we believe that they would have then entered to the tunnel. Tunnel was pretty much a one-way out kind of tunnel. If anything happened to these slaves while they were in that tunnel, they would not have been able to come back out into the church. So had they done that, they would have given the tunnel away. Holes in the floor that were designed to provide air into the tunnel. These holes were placed in the floor of the lower level of the church, which was the original sanctuary. designed in a pattern that held spiritual value to the slaves. For the slaves, it meant that on one hand you had birth and life, and on the other hand you had death and rebirth. That symbol, that pattern that the holes were designed in, is called a Congolese cosmogram. They stood in the center of this pattern, the symbol, and they prayed or meditated. They developed the holes with something that held meaning to them. Just like pretty much everything that they did during that period of time. They had songs that held meaning to them, but the songs were sending a message. They used poems or things that they developed, poems pretty much, that were sending a message or were used to send messages, but these poems to the average person meant nothing. Just like these holes. To the average person that would have seen these holes in the floor in that pattern, it didn't cause any alarm because they were more than likely pretty much familiar with this design. Now the holes, again, were developed to provide air that was running, air to the tunnel that's running under the building, or that was running under the building. And we believe that plantation owners would have come into this building all the time, and they never became suspicious about the hole. We believe that they never became suspicious. Maybe they did, but once they saw the diamond shape with the cross going through the middle of it, their suspicions were gone.
I really like First African Baptist Church. I like how the first members of the church were stained glass on the window. I also like the quilt would pretty much mean that they were, it was pretty much a signal saying that they were, safe to be there.
Well, today is such a special day, and it really means a lot to us as we go back in history and remember our founder, because we are the oldest continuous African American Baptist church in North America. So it really means a lot, not to just us, but to all African American Baptists today.